about it. And I know that how important this part is, my next question here, because you covered a whole chapter on Freud. But what about the powerful scientific and clinical work that was being done on dreams way before Freud? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, certainly. Many textbooks or introductory books on sleep and dreams, when they start talking about dreams, usually begin with one author, with Freud, as if nothing had really been done. Or they might have a sentence or two about, dreams have always fascinated humankind, or since Aristotle. And then they jump to Freud. But in the, I'd say about 50 or 60 years before Freud's interpretation of dreams that came out in 1899, there were many scientists working actively to try to understand the how and why of dreams and conducting really clever, innovative experiments at the time. And so, for instance, some people were trying to explore how do different external stimuli, smells that we are exposed to, if someone holds a source of heat close to our feet while we are sleeping, or someone comes and tickles our nose, are these sensations incorporated in your dreams? And if so, how? How are they integrated in the dream narrative? Now, keep in mind, people were investigating this back in like 1850, right? So this is, over 150 years ago. And these are the kinds of experiments, by the way, that modern day scientists started doing in the sleep lab after REM sleep was discovered in the mid 1950s. So 100 years later, the first kinds of experiments done in the lab were very similar to what people were trying to do much before Freud. Other examples, the idea of some people use these first physiological devices that measured breathing rates during, it could be during the daytime, but here was during people's sleep. And for instance, people had already figured out, well, the most vivid dreams tend to occur in the latter half of the night or closer to the morning awakening, which we know today is true. And they also figured out, well, the most vivid dreams tend to occur when our breathing rhythms are irregular, and that we know today is also true. Other people were already trying to use questionnaires to systematically evaluate the content of people's dreams. They were looking at how different ways of waking people up can influence dream recall. How quickly do our memories of dreams fade? And so, again, there was all this fascinating work, including people who were trying to influence the content of their dreams by using sensory conditioning. And this is quite mind-boggling as well, especially when we think that this was being done such a long time ago. So one gentleman by the name of Hervé Saint-Denis, in a fascinating book he wrote in 1867 called Dreams and How to Guide Them, one of his many experiments that he did is every time he traveled in France, when he'd be in a particular area or a town, he would buy a perfume and he would smell that perfume every day as he traveled in that village or that town. And he did that everywhere he traveled. So he'd have one perfume always associated with a particular region or village in France. Then he'd had an assistant pick one of these perfumes on a night that he doesn't know. He doesn't know which perfume, and hold a few droplets under his nose while he slept. And the idea was, because you've associated perfumes or specific smells with specific regions, could that influence your dreams? And the answer was yes. When he took a perfume that was associated with town A, he would be more likely to dream about town A. So he might not even incorporate the smell in his dream, but the memories associated with that smell would influence his dream. And then he would even try to combine two perfumes to see would there be elements from both towns that would occur in his dream. So many really fascinating studies on how does our mind go about building our dreams and how can we influence this? So all of this work was going on much before Freud, and many of the modern approaches, clinical and otherwise, to the study of dreams really find their roots much more in these early explorers of dream than they do with Freudian dream theory, which of course had a huge impact, but that really changed the focus from um, the why and how in dreams and more towards, well, what does this one dream mean? And the idea again that there is a singular meaning, and that so-called dream experts like myself could infer what dreams mean without knowing very little or nothing from the person, actually in many ways imposing my views and my interpretations on you, even though they don't resonate with you. And so the focus changed, and more empirical or science-driven research about dreams was sort of sidelined, unfortunately, for a good 50 years after Freud. But it's fascinating, again, like I was saying, that all these innovative methodologies to try to better understand dreams, where they come from, how they are molded, what kind of mental faculties are absent or continue in dreams. So people are going, well, we can see and we can hear things, but our logic is off, our judgment is off. We don't really have critical thinking. Why? And one person, Alfred Murray, already in 1860 proposed that, well, maybe it's because in sleep, different areas of our brain are deactivated, which we know today is exactly the reason we don't have those abilities. Part of the frontal regions of the brain, which are responsible for reasoning, judgment, planning, are generally deactivated in REM sleep. And so in our dreams, well, we're not very critical. There's all kinds of unusual, bizarre things that happen, but we believe them to be real, and we don't really notice how unusual or bizarre they are until after we wake up.
It's so true. And dreams do feel so real, don't they? When you wake up and these weird things that have happened to you, like big tidal waves, you wake up and you're looking for the ocean drops. It's just crazy.
Oh, absolutely. They feel very real while we are immersed in them. And there's actually an English physician who once said the following line that I always liked, which is, dreams feel real while we are in them. Can we say more about life?
Wow.